Flosstube, this is Jenny McStitcher. It's been a very long time since the last time I made a Flosstube video. It's been more than 2 years. I can't really explain how that happened. I was enjoying making them. I didn't always feel like I presented myself very much like the real me. It was hard for me. But I'm going to take another stab at it, I think, and see if things go a little bit better. I guess I just need to figure out a way to just talk and not feel self-conscious. If anybody has any tips, that would be great. So the reason I didn't post any videos, the pandemic, I guess, just wasn't great for my stitching bug. My stitching slowed down a lot. I would do like a stitch and then find myself just drifting, and then I'd do another stitch. So it literally slowed my stitching down. I would find myself on my phone more when I had stitching opportunities. I would sort of be scrolling more. I guess probably everybody was in the same boat. I've stopped scrolling. I've stopped looking at the news very much. I'm just starting to feel great about the sunshiny days and the retreats that are happening and the inspired stitching that's out there. Things are much, much better. Also, sometime during the last couple of years, we were walking down the road and we saw that a house was up for sale that we really liked. So we just, in the middle of all the chaos of the pandemic and everything else going on, we just randomly bought a house that we weren't even planning to buy a house. So we had to buy, sell, pack up, renovate, and we're in a totally different kind of property now. We have, just out this window, we have the beautiful Niagara Escarpment, and down that way we have a very nice little neighborhood. Feels a little like we are it's almost like the bush back there. We have critters in the backyard. We've seen deer, we've seen skunks and raccoons and all kinds of stuff. It's a bit much, but it's nice to have some space for the dogs to run around, and it's very pretty out there. So that's taken up a lot of our time and energy, and that didn't help my stitching either, I would say. Here's what did help my stitching. Recently I went to Stitch North. Getting ready for that was very fun, and it made me really reevaluate all my stitching projects so that I can take a handful of stuff with me. Also, I had planned a retreat. I think I mentioned it in one of my previous videos that I was planning my own small retreat for some local stitchers, and that was a headache. I'm telling you, we had originally planned it for April 2020, so obviously that didn't happen. And then we rescheduled it for blank 2020, I can't remember, maybe the fall. And then that didn't happen. And then we planned it again for the following year, and that didn't happen. It was something else. I think I exchanged about 100 emails with the organizer at the retreat center. Anyway, finally, we booked it for January 2022, and we got so close. We were, I think we were a week, not even maybe a week, away from the day that the retreat would start, and we had to cancel it because of Omicron. So then we booked it again for March. So this, I think, was the 5th or 6th date, and we managed to do it. It was the beginning of March, and it was amazing. It was a little bit smaller than the original plan. We only had 12 people, but the retreat center normally wouldn't allow it to happen with so few people, but because of social distancing and regulations, they waived their minimum. They're a non-profit retreat center anyway, so it really didn't affect them too much. I shouldn't say it didn't affect them, but they were okay with it. So everyone had a private room. Everybody had lots of elbow room. The 12 of us included several people I had never met before, but a few people who I already knew from my own. Oh, my cat just jumped on the table. Just anyway, so I knew some of them from my own small cross-stitch group that I run at the local library. So just bugger off. Sorry. So anyway, it was a nice mix of new friends and old friends, and it was a really lovely time. We call ourselves the Hidden Stitchers, and we all loved it. So we're planning another one, and it's going to be later in 2022. We're going to do one a year, we think, but we haven't figured out exactly which season we're going to do it in yet. So when we have our next one, we're going to be a little bit bigger group, maybe twice as big, or if not a little bigger than that. So that was wonderful. So as long as we're talking about that retreat, I will show you a few things that that came of that retreat. Now, one of the women who joined us is Chris from Craft and Chris, KraftnKris, and she makes project bags. So early on in our long wait for our retreat, I had asked Chris to make some bags. So we chose the fabric together, not in person, but just from online swatches. And then she made a bunch of bags. So I took a little bit of the money off the top of the retreat price and paid Chris to do that. And she made the most incredible project bags. And I happen to have one of each of the 3 colors that she made. So I'm going to show you all 3 of them. This fabric, I think it's called Sweater Weather, and it's got little dogs in sweaters. So she made one that was black with the print and then white in the background. And she made one that was blue, same basic thing, the vinyl front bags. And then one that's white with a peachy pink contrast. And everybody loved them. So everyone got one of these, and Chris threw in a little coaster. These are so sweet. And a little needle minder with everybody's bag. And I didn't know she was going to do that. And for me, just because she's so nice, she threw in this little notions pouch. And I love this. I use this all the time. I want more of these. So that was really great of Craft and Chris. Other people who came all brought gifts. It was an incredibly generous group. Everybody brought something. One woman, her name is Rachel. On Instagram, she is the Enchanted Stitcher, and she made these incredible, I don't know what you call these, rings and charms. And the paper kind of coordinates nicely with this. That was very sweet of her. Rachel, the Enchanted Stitcher on Instagram. I don't know if she's selling those or if she should, if she doesn't already. So that's my retreat update, I would say. The nicest part about my retreat to me, besides the lovely company and just that great energy you get from stitching with other people, but the food. So the retreat center that we went to, they included food in the retreat. Well, we took the option where food was included, so we had our own personal chef, and we were seated outside of the kitchen in the dining room because the light was really great in there. And so our cook would just come in and she would cook our food, and she would say, "Dinner's ready," when it was time, and we would just go and get our food and put our stitching away, eat our supper, grab our stitching again. It was pretty nice. And the retreat grounds were very beautiful too. So a few of us took a nice walk around and went out on the main road. It was just lovely part of the world. It's in the New Hamburg area. So that's that. And let's see. In that same general area, there was a woman whose name was Kathy Griffin, and she passed away in October. And when she passed away, she left all of her charts to her best friend, or to a very good friend of hers. And so the good friend is putting those charts up for sale, and she's got them in her house, and she's just offering them up for sale for half price. So there are thousands of charts in her house right now. And I went over there to see what she had. And because somebody on the Stitch North Facebook group had mentioned that this woman was selling stuff, and I couldn't resist. I went over there and I bought so much stuff. I'm going to show it to you. And seriously, I could have spent the day, I could have spent hours and hours, I could have spent all the money that I'm ever going to earn. I could have, seriously, I thought about going back. I thought about going back many times. I might still go back. I know that it's been picked over more since then, but apparently she still has quite a bit of stuff. So I'm just going to show you some of these. Actually, I'll probably show you all of them, because why not? Some of them are new, and some of them are older, and some of them have been started, some of them have been kitted up. There's all kinds of things, but these are all pieces that for one reason or another I couldn't resist. So the first one I'll show you has been started. It's called the Antique Acorn Sampler. And this was started by Kathy Griffin. And Kathy was a designer herself. She designed historic samplers from museums. And her collection of charts, she must have bought them all. She must have bought one of everything, and she kept them very, very well. So here's the first one I'm going to show you. Antique Acorn Sampler. It looks like this. And as I said, this is one of the ones that Kathy had started, and it's going to be a real honor to finish it for her. It's not on fabric that I would ordinarily use. The light in here just got really bright. I think the sun is at just that angle. So I hope you can see what I'm showing. So here we go. This is Kathy's Antique Acorn Sampler. And these are beads. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that very well. But those are beads. I don't think you can. And I've never seen beads used just like that in a sampler, but I found it really intriguing. So that's the only place where there's beads. Oh, there's beads up here in the... Now the beads didn't come with her start, but her DMC did. So I'm going to try to do this, and I'm going to do it. Hopefully I'll get that. Hopefully I'll be feeling like doing that. It's always tricky to work on somebody else's started piece, but hard to make that sort of transition to their own. One of the reasons that to your own, I should say, one of the reasons that I wanted to go to this place was in a couple of email interactions with the friend who's selling the charts. She had mentioned that there were a lot of Canadian samplers, and I think I've heard other sampler stitchers saying that it's hard to find nice Canadian historic reproductions. And there were a couple, not tons, but I did buy a couple. And one of them is the Sarah Verrier. This is a French Canadian sampler. I'm not French Canadian. I did put my kids in French immersion though. I don't really speak French at all, just whatever I learned in grade school. This is the Lord's Prayer in French, and I just thought that was nice. And it has a nice history of the stitcher, quite a bit. It has a nice chart layout, and it's a great chart. It has some specialty stitches, and this chart, like all of the ones, I won't show it to you, but I can tell you it's perfect. It doesn't look like it's ever been used. If Kathy used it at all, she must have used a working copy and then kept this chart and all the others in plastic and flat, because they're perfect. So some of these that I'm going to show you are just random. Like I found one long dog sampler chart, so I bought it. It's called Birds of a Feather. I'll take this out of the plastic. The colors of this appealed to me. It's not very many colors, but it's very, very effective use of colors, I thought. And I'm pretty into birds right now with this window and this property that we bought. We have a bit of a clearing. There's a lot of trees around us, but we have a clearing, and the birds just swoop down into our yard and up again. It's quite neat to watch them sort of like come down and then take off up over the trees. And we put some feeders out We had some luck with the feeders. The birds came like crazy, but we also had all the other critters coming by. Oh, my cat sees my Fitbit. Can you hear him meowing? He's gonna go crazy. I'm gonna have to take this off, I think, because that won't end well. Anyway, so a couple of the other, I found a little, just a tiny little purple violet sampler. This is a New Brunswick. This is a New Brunswick purple violet sampler. And New Brunswick is an East Coast province. It's a beautiful province if you've never been there. And so, I don't know, it just appealed to me. Apparently, there's one of these little samplers for every Canadian province. And that there might have been all of them in that collection, but I would have needed a week to see everything that they had there. So I got what I saw, and I got what I saw as quickly as I could and got out of there because I actually had a bunch of other things on the go. Okay, this one is very beautiful. It's called For the Birds. Again, I'm pretty into birds right now. This has gorgeous colors, and it's by Bygone Stitches, but I'm not sure that the picture is going to look great because it doesn't look great to me. So I don't know how well it'll... It's actually kind of shady and wrinkly fabric. I'm not sure. Let me see. I mean, I don't want to criticize anybody, but they could have probably, I don't know. Usually if there's a stitch piece on the cover, it's much better than like a computer rendition, but in this case it's not great. But again, this is a perfect chart. It's never been touched, I would say. And it looks like it's going to be much more beautiful than the picture shows it to be. For the Birds, Bygone Stitches. So I'm very excited about that one. I don't know which ones of these I'll do first, or I have no real plans for these, but I did start one already, and I'll show you that after I show you the others. That one I got somewhere else. This one I thought was absolutely beautiful. I love Lily of the Valley, and this has Lily of the Valley on it, and it reminded me a little bit of Rosewood Manor, sort of kind of vibe, but it's not Rosewood Manor. This is Diamond's Delight by Stickadine Vonder Weinenberg. Copyright Roger Svinkter. I'm not kidding you here. I'm the worst at pronouncing. I'm the worst. So that was probably very badly done. I love this one. I think I will do that one soon because of those Lily of the Valley. Oh, okay, this one was kitted by Kathy. The light is getting very bright. And so this one was a great deal. Basically the woman who was selling them for half the cover price. So if they had been kitted up, she didn't charge more, or if she did, it wasn't much more. She maybe just rounded up instead of rounding down. But this one is Anne Amy Eliza Herbert sampler, and it's got one of those checkerboard houses that just really, they just draw me in. And it's got some specialty stitches. You can see there's eyelets on this row of alphabet. That one's exciting, and I don't know if I'll use the fabric and the DMC that Kathy kitted up. Oh, this has a little note about the kind of fabric it is. It's porcupine. I'm not 100% sure. Porcupine something. So, yeah. That was a great deal. And then that one was from Dar Museum, and so is this one. I don't actually know what the Dar Museum is. This one is just the chart, It's the Sarah W. Rowan sampler. This one wasn't kitted up. And neither was this one. This is the porcupine. This is from the Worcester Art Museum, and it's on diligence. That's fabulous. I haven't really done a ton of sampler stitching, so I probably have treasures here in my hands that I don't even really fully appreciate, except that I like the way they look. So if anybody has any comments about the things that I've found, like that maybe they're even more special than I think they are. I didn't do any searching on them to see if they were still in print or rare or anything like that. I in each case I just bought them because I liked the look of them. Or I knew somebody who I thought would like the look of them. Now this one is the Jane Ballard sampler, also from the Worcester Art Museum. And I think it's amazing. I love this hill with these trees, and I love the center part there with the tree and this woman here with her staff has some flowers on top. And these flowers here are quite distinct. I haven't really seen anything quite like this. Jane Ballard sampler, age 10. So that was pretty exciting. I don't know, maybe I'll have to put them in a generator and, you know, just randomize it. Okay, so here's another Canadian one. I mentioned I was trying to stock up on Canadian samplers. So this one is Timeless Designs, and it's the Mary Hawken sampler. Just the chart. No, this one wasn't kitted. That one's quite beautiful. She was 8 when she stitched this in 1841. It has a nice little small chart that goes with it. I'm making a bit of a mess here. Okay, so now we're getting, actually, as we go down, we're getting into the even more amazing. Some of these blew my mind, and this is one of them. So this one still had the little plate that you'll put, you know, that I'll put behind the finished piece one day. And it has, sorry about the crinkling. It has a color picture of the sampler, the Hannah Norton sampler. Cambridge, 1795, HN for Hannah Norton. So there's that. Hope you can see that okay. And then the chart itself, again, like all the other ones, is perfect. It looks completely, like even the corners aren't dog-eared, and there's no creases on the edge. And then this one was kitted up, and it even has the needle that the kit came with, and a little pin. This fabric is 30 count, hand dyed. Again, the light in here is is a very nice neutral. If it's it says it's hand dyed, but you can't really tell that it is. Maybe in less direct light. And then this one came with all of the floss to do it, all of it. That's a mess. But you know, this part was kind of just all squished in there, and it needs to sort of maybe even air out a little. But there it all is. There. So that one's very, very exciting. I just couldn't believe the needle was still in there, and that little the frame, I don't know what you'd call that little piece of paper, like a, I don't know what that's called. If anybody else knows, just let me know. But it's this, can you see that? The what it was, who did it, when it was stitched. It's a handy little thing. I've never really used one. Sometimes I'll write on the back, on the paper on the back of a framed piece, what it is. So these came in these little folders. There's a few of these that were kitted up completely. And those are very tempting to start because they're all ready. A couple of the ones that were kitted up this way, though, the fabric wasn't great. One of them, I'll show it to you right away, actually. So another one exactly the same as Hannah Norton, like in terms of its packaging. So the Nancy Hayward sampler. The Nancy Hayward sampler. This is a Henry Ford Museum reproduction. Does it say who by? No. The exemplary? The exemplary? So you can tell I don't know too much about these things. There we go. So this is a picture of it. That's a black and white picture though. And then this is the color picture of it. And I love that so much. The dark fabric with the pale floss against it. The floss is here. Very nice. And the fabric that it came with is quite green. So there it is. And this again, like the other one, had the needle and everything. So those are beautiful on that green. There's no doubt about it. They're just beautiful. But when I took this piece of fabric out and had a good look at it, I realized that some of it was an over-dyed piece. And I realized that some of, it's a pretty, might be 28 count, which I don't typically use. Let's see if it says. It says it's 28-30, so it's an uneven weave, 28-30. And I don't mind using uneven weave. I've used 52-60 many times. But some of the dye had sort of settled into the creases. So I washed it in the hopes that I could get some of that out. And I did get some of it out. But then I don't know if you'll be able to tell, there was also some spots that are white. And I wasn't quite sure that I liked it. And as much as I would love to stitch the kit as it was, if you look at the original, it's quite brown. And then this is quite green. So they're pretty different. So what I did, now this, I'm going to totally go into a different topic, but when I went to Stitch North last week, I went over to the Leo and Roxy table and I looked at their 40 count fabric, and I asked Matt, who works for Caroline of Evertote, I asked him to help me pick a piece of fabric that I could use instead of this green. And so he jumped right to it. He was fantastic. And so was Carrie. Both of them, they seemed tireless. So many people were coming to them all the time. So many people were, they must have just been drained. But they both just found this piece of fabric. So here's the difference between the one that was called for and the one that I bought. This is a piece of 40 count color. I'm not sure what this color, I think that might be a code. Oak, something, oak. I'm just not sure what that means. But this one with these colors really seemed like a showstopper to Matt and to Carrie and to me. So also, if you look at the original again, you will see that this one's actually much closer to the picture. Mind you, the picture could have faded, and this green that was in the kit could have been closer to the original. I guess I'll probably never really know, but I'm really happy with how close and how perfect this one is going to be for this piece. And I'm telling you, this is the next one I start because I'm really excited about that dark background with the pale fabric. I've never done that successfully, and also because it was so much fun to buy this Leo and Roxy fabric with Carrie and Matt's help. And that's not all I bought there, but that's all we're going to talk about from there for right now. So that's the Nancy Hayward sampler. And just tuck that away. Sorry. Noisy, noisy, noisy. Now we have, seriously, this one's called the Keep Me sampler, and it's by Moira Blackburn. I'd heard of Moira Blackburn samplers. I've seen other people stitching them, but this is the one that I found. It is so pretty. The house is, it's hard to get that across, but it has a very slight color variation in the house, and the tree, the willow tree, a weeping willow, and the little Christmas trees without it, or I guess they're just evergreen trees. It's just so pretty, these birds, everything about it. I can't wait to start this one. It's very romantic looking and very pretty. Again, perfect condition. It comes with one of these cards. If I had bought this, it comes with one of these. If I had bought this, that would have been separated on day one and never seen again. I'm going to try really hard to keep these nicely because they were so nice when I bought them. But there's a good chance that won't happen. Okay, so this one is the Betsy Davis sampler from 1791. And this one is also kitted up. Here it is. This is a lot of, what do you call that? Full coverage around the border. It's unbelievably beautiful. Those flowers and the house. The picture's tiny. I don't know how well you can see that, but maybe you've seen these before. I haven't seen, a lot of these are just completely new to me. This one, like many others in here, this is the Scarlet Letter. It was kitted by the Scarlet Letter. I'm assuming so because it has the top of the plastic package, and it has a price that I would think would probably include at least, or maybe it's just the chart, $51.95. I don't know what year this would have been purchased, but it has been kitted up using DMC and a big piece of sort of like a dirty linen looking fabric. To me, the original looks like a paler neutral. I would probably want to do something closer to this just for the contrast. But again, I'm not sure about that because this is a beautiful piece of fabric. It's just it even comes with the needle. It's just a count that I prefer a 36 or 40 count. And sometimes when these have been folded for a long time, they really like to hold on to those creases, don't they? But anyway, that's an exciting one. Again, that border is just breathtaking. I can only imagine how beautiful that would be done. So that's going to be on my list too. And I'm so excited. You know what? I've looked at these many times now since I bought them, and I showed some people. I took the whole box to Stitch North and showed some people there too. But every time I flip through the box, I get a little bit like breathy about it all because it was so exciting. And it's funny, the day that I went to the woman's house, my daughter had just had surgery the day before, the night before even, and I said, I'm just gonna pop over to Kitchener-Waterloo in the morning and just go to a little cross-stitch store. And she said, no, or to a cross-stitch sale. And she said, no, you're not. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I won't. That wouldn't be very nice. That'd be mean because you'll need your mother in the morning. And she said, yeah, I'll need my mother. Like, oh, I can't believe you would do that. And then they gave her some drugs and they made her really sleepy. And I thought she's gonna be asleep all morning. So I just popped in the car and went anyway. I left really early, like 8 o'clock. And then then it started to snow, and then the traffic slowed down, and then there was an accident. And then when I actually got to the women's house, I couldn't tear myself away, and I spent more than an hour there, even though I meant to only be about 10 minutes. She had saved 19 Hands Across the Sea sampler charts for me. So really, if I had just gone and picked those up and come home, it would have been enough. But I couldn't stop there. I had to also look at all of this stuff. Anyway, when I got home, my daughter was awake, and she knew I had been. And I felt kind of guilty. But if I didn't go then, I might not have gotten all these. So you gotta do what you gotta do, right? It's not like she didn't have anybody home. She just didn't have her mother. Whatever. Anyway, the next ones. We have the sampler companies. So these are Brenda Keys. And I had heard of Brenda Keys, and I've heard of the sampler company many times. So when I saw these, I just basically got them all. So the first one is, let's see. Sometimes the names of her sampler aren't super obvious, but I think they're inside, I guess. So this one seems to be called the Scottish House Sampler. And I love this one. I love single color charts sometimes. Sometimes when something's charted in single color, I will go ahead and add extra colors. And sometimes I regret that, and sometimes I don't. But this one, this sort of dark navy, I think it's DMC 823. I think that one, I think I'll do that one just like it's charted. It's just gorgeous. This little row of family members slightly reminds me of those chalk figures on cars, you know. Like, I don't know what they are. I've never had those, but that reminds me of it just a bit. Like a 19th century version of it. Well, I'll get that in there later. Okay, another Brenda Keys chart. And I think I'll have to take these out just to be able to tell you what they are. Maybe when I repackage them, I'll package them in a way that I know what they are. This one seems to be, okay, so it's 4 different ones. Here they are. We have the spies from Canaan, Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, and Faith, Hope, and Charity. I don't even know which one's which, but they're cute. I thought those would look great, even done as pillows. I have a bread bowl with nothing in it, so I'm probably gonna have to do some smalls this year. So there's that one. I'll put them down with the plastic between them so I know how to put them back. Okay. This one is, sorry. I should have been more organized with these ones in particular. Heaven Doth Ask Sampler. This is the Heaven Doth Ask sampler. That one's just gorgeous. I'm reading the back. 333 by 123, so it's a nice size, not huge. Oh, this little person right there. It's probably too small to see. So cute. And I didn't really notice until I started recording this video that they didn't have the names on the front. This is the Church on the Hill sampler. 245 by 161, it says. Intermediate skill level. So these are just the charts, no fabric. This one's called, no, that's not its name, that's its instructions. This one is called, give me a sec, Floral Sampler. That was beautiful, absolutely stunning. Look at the full coverage around. It looks like a separate piece. Lots of greens and pinks. Very, very pretty. Again, these are when they were saved with with the little added bits. So nice. Oh, we're about to get into the Hands Across the Sea ones, which made my hands shake when I bought them. Because I only had one Hands Across the Sea sampler, and it was a download, so this was very special to me. This one seems to be called Sampler Musings. Very nice. And now, okay, I got excited about the Hands Across the Sea when I was still looking at these ones. Those there. Okay, so as I said, I only, until this day when I bought these, which was about a week ago, I only had one Hands Across the Sea chart, and it was one that I bought online. It's the one with the dancers around the drum. And I bought that one to do for my mom because my mom has been folk dancing for 40 years every Friday night. Until the pandemic, I guess, which ruined everything. So she's a serious folk dancer, and I thought she would just love that done with exactly the way it's charted, with the verse the way it is. I don't know if I would finish it as a drum or if I would finish it for her wall, but her folk dancing has been such a huge part of her life, and she's quite old. She's quite a bit older now. She's in her 80s, and to have been dancing for decades when you're in your 80s is so special. So yeah, I thought that was just a perfect chart, and I will do that one. I haven't got it kitted yet, but since I bought that one as a download, and I'd heard how special Hands Across the Sea charts could be, like in you know, as charts, as booklets, but these have blown me away. So anyway, I'm going to show you all of them. I don't know if I probably won't stitch them all, to be honest. Some of them call for a lot of specialty stitches. Some of them appeal to me more than others, but I had to take 11. I just had to. So here's the first one that I got. Eliza Bell Cox. Now I told you that I'm super into birds these days. So that one really appeals to me. Elizabeth Weston. Oh, that one's in plastic, and then it's in plastic again. That's the really crinkly plastic. There's that one. I do really like this one too. It's much busier, but it's very beautiful. I love the colors. I really like pinks and purples in samplers. I didn't realize I did, but there's so much red and green in samplers, and I love that too, and I've done a couple like that, but the pinks and the purples, they're just a little bit different, and they just draw me in. Okay, I think most of them just have the one layer of plastic. This one's Jane Vaughn, 1724. I love the kind of, I don't know what you'd call that, but it almost looks quilted, like a fabric overlay or something. It's satin stitches there. Just beautiful. Okay, Elizabeth Beavan, 1835. This woodsy sort of cottagey area really appeals to me. That one's just absolutely stunning. I can't believe I've been talking for 43 minutes and I haven't even talked really about Stitch North or about Pastime Pieces. So I have to start talking faster. Jennifer, spelled weirdly. Jennifer with a bunch of E's. Gilbert, 1818. I was born in 1968, and there were so many Jennifers that year. That was like the beyond Jason and Jennifer time, and there were 7 Jennifers in my grade 7 class. This is beautiful, isn't it? But even still, the Jennifer did appeal to me, and also I kind of liked I don't know what this exactly is. These sort of ribbons, but I really like them. And again, this has a lot of the pink and purple that's been attracting me lately. And I quite liked the verse there. Okay, Harriet Hartland. I can't believe I have these. Like, I'm stunned that I have these. And I'm telling you, I got them on a good deal. I mean, I spent too much money there, but I did get a good deal. This one. Oh, look at those. The border on this one is just absolutely stunning. I want to do this mostly just for the border. It's a lot of over one Bible verse. I'm not even sure. I used to think I didn't really want to stitch Bible verses. I think I may have even mentioned that in another video, but then I've decided I like the history and tradition of them, and my ancestors all would have stitched religious messages in their samplers, so why can't I? Sarah Dawes. This one's amazing. I love these two women here, and I like the nod to the parents. And again, another gorgeous border. And I do really like these bright colors. A lot of the ones that I wound up picking up there were the bright ones. But here's one that's not bright. This one is Anne Forfeit, 1812. And I would have bought that just for that if it had just been by itself. It's so sweet. Wouldn't you like to just live there? It reminded me slightly of this cute needle minder that I bought at Stitch North. So Anne Forfeit, 1812, and quite a nice border on that. I'm not even done the Hands Across the Sea. I still have 4 more. Miss Mary Ann Bournes, if that's how you say that, in the plastic. Another amazing border. And then I like the little animals in this full coverage area, and that central motif is amazing. These birds look like maybe they just had a fight. They're facing away from each other. So that one's quite something. And Amy Can, 1831. I've seen people working on this one. I think this one was very popular compared to some of the other ones. When I had on my wedding, we got married in a gazebo, so I kind of like the idea of the gazebo. And I have a friend who I'm going to pass this to when I'm finished. We have Sarah Mary Larkworthy. Larkworthy is a great name. This one is gorgeous, but there's a lot of non-cross stitching in this. Like, I'm not sure there's any cross stitching in this. Probably the red line, and again down here. But I think all the rest of that is satin stitches, which could mean that it would stitch up really quickly. You never know. The colors are stunning though. And then this one, I didn't even know this was especially special until my friend Tanya. Tanya's Instagram is Tanya X Stitches, and I noticed she follows a lot of Flosstubers and stuff, so you've probably seen her name on your posts. She told me that this book here was very special. I had seen this sampler being stitched by a woman in my cross stitch group. She's a very, very fine stitcher. Her name is Barbara, and she's incredible. So I already knew that I liked this one. I love the trees, and I'd seen her working on the border, and it's just stunning. But what I didn't know was that the one with the sister on the other side, Isabella, I didn't know that this book with both charts in one was rare or special or anything like that. But I thought, hey, that's like almost 2 for 1. So I picked that up, and I was lucky. I was lucky to get that, it turns out, because there was just so many, and there's never going to be more, and now I have one. So that's the stash. Oh, there's one more from that. So I did start one of the pieces that I picked up there. It's another Moira Blackburn. This was a kit, and it's called the Strawberry House Sampler. Here this is. Very sweet. Again, I just love that white house with an interesting texture, which you probably can't see. Maybe you can a little bit. This one's stitching up nicely. I started it at Stitch North, and I started with the border, which I later realized was kind of bold because I didn't think it was going to line up, and I started getting a little bit hot and sweaty, but then it did line up. And so here's what I've done so far on it. Those strawberries and those little flowers. I'm hoping the flowers will show up for you here. They actually do show up quite nicely in person, but the light's kind of overkilling it right now. So the fabric that I'm using for this is a piece of 46 count Lakeside linen, navy bean is the color. And it's a great neutral with a slight sort of gray cast to it. So I'm very happy with that one. I'll be working on that one tonight. And then, okay, so when I was planning on going to Stitch North, and I had also recently been looking at videos of Nashville releases, I realized that one of the vendors at Stitch North had her own store in Blenheim, Ontario. And I'm not one to sort of like take a chance. I'm not really one to jump into a big lineup of people, and I figured that if she had a bunch of Nashville releases coming to Stitch North, I probably wouldn't get up and get in line until things were quiet, and by that time everything would be gone. So I decided to get in my car. We went for a little drive, and we went over to her shop, and it was amazing. She has a red barn on her property that she made into she made the barn to be across a quilting store, and then she has added cross stitch in, and I don't know what the ratio is, cross stitch to quilting, but I think the cross stitching section is growing, so hopefully at some point it'll be 50-50. But even though she didn't have like the biggest section for cross stitching square footage wise, her selections were amazing. So she had very, very nice stuff, nice trims. She had great wool pieces that you could use for the back of a pillow. She had great charts, all the stuff that people are really stitching. You know, you go to some stores and you might love the stores, but they have a lot of things that you might have stitched a few years ago, but maybe not right now. Like sort of trend. I don't want to use the word trendy, but current. The current releases. Some places don't have a ton of that, but this Blenheim Store, Pastime Pieces, has all the stuff that you want. Oh, my cat's coming back. This cat ignores me 99% of the time, except when I'm on a Zoom call for work or apparently making a Flosstube video. Just back off. So anyway, I went to her store and I really had a nice time there. I struck up a conversation with the woman who works there, and I also met the owner. Both of them were absolutely lovely. And I managed to get a copy of Let Love Reign. And I got a pair of scissors like this, which I didn't pull out to show you. And I'm going to do the big piece that was a big hit at Nashville. I just absolutely love that. But this was before I got all this other stuff, so I don't know where it's going to fit in. I bought a little bit of trim and a little bit of the wool that I was telling you about, like for the backs of pillows and things. And I got a little bit of Teresa Koget's. I got 3 fat quarters of Teresa Koget, this little woodsy stuff, and then a contrasting piece. So I'm hoping that I can make a bag using this kind of stuff, like maybe this for a pocket, or I'm hoping I can do that. I'm not a big sewer, and I have a lot of project bags that I've picked up along the way, but I would like to do that. I also bought, it seems silly now, but I bought this Jane Plender leaf because I just, again, that sort of checkered house. Oh, not quite checkered, but absolutely beautiful. This really appealed to me. So I'll just put that in my pile of all those other samplers. And I also bought Hello from Liz Matthews. I had seen a couple of the series and I wanted to do one, but I really think that the use of color in this one in particular is just stunning. Like, that looks real. It's just amazing. So I'm excited about doing that. I have a fireplace now. We didn't have one before with a mantle, so I'll be able to maybe stitch a few from that series to put up on the mantle this Christmas. I picked up a Heart Remembers because I just love this. I bought it for this, but there's so many patterns in here that are just absolutely gorgeous. I thought this one was very nice. And Sewing Club. So I probably didn't necessarily need to show all of those because everybody's seen those, and I am getting very close to crazy time-wise. So I'm going to try to talk a little bit about Stitch North, and then I'm going to show you three of my current whips, so that if I do another Flosstube, I've got something to show you next time. So one funny thing from Stitch North. Okay, I had a great time at Stitch North. A few of the there were 6 of us at one table, and the 6 that sat together were folks who'd been to my small retreat. So it was really nice to know where I was going to sit and have friends already that we could just sort of pick up where we left off maybe about a month before, 3 weeks to a month before. It was so nice. One woman, Rachel, the Enchanted Stitcher, who I mentioned before, she hadn't really stitched with other people very often in her life, maybe just once or twice a long time ago. So for her comfort level to know that she had friends it was amazing. I was so glad after all those reschedulings that the timing of the 2 retreats was so perfect. We had a smalls exchange at Stitch North, and I stitched a small, and then I didn't give it away. I didn't give it up. And I'll show it to you right now. The reason I didn't give this away, because I basically just liked it. And this is, I don't have the chart handy, but this is half of a pretty pear by Samplers Remembered. And it's on 5260 Lakeside Linen, and it's very, very small. It's only a few inches, maybe 4 by 3, I think it measures. So yeah, I was so tempted to take it anyway, but this, in one of my last videos, I showed how I was framing, and this molding cost quite a bit. It's kind of like a nice thick molding. So in the end, I thought I wasn't sure if I had spent too much because of the molding, and I thought I better just keep it. So I didn't participate, even though I stitched that in the month, stitched and finished it in the month leading up to the retreat. Okay, so I mentioned that I bought that brown fabric from Leo and Roxy. I also bought 2 very nice neutrals from them. One is porcelain, and one had a name that didn't get put on the tag. I think Carrie from Leo and Roxy named it at, these are both 40 count. I think she named it on the spot, and I forget what she said, but one of my friends bought the same piece, so I should be able to find that out. In case I start something on it, I'll be able to tell you. And with all the people talking about fox and rabbit fabric, I decided to buy, as soon as I saw it, I grabbed it from the Pastime Pieces vendor booth. I bought a piece of 40 count salt bush, which people are saying it feels good, and but it does feel nice. But so does the Leo and Roxy. It's amazing. They actually, I would say, they're very similar. They both have that like soft but substance feel to them. Also, one of my friends bought this piece for me, so I have, this is another Leo and Roxy. This one's Blank Slate, and I love this one. I was going to buy it myself, and then next thing I knew, my friend had bought it for me and brought it over, and she didn't need to. It was very generous. It was because I drove, and I don't know where you live, but gas is expensive right now, so I did accept that. But you know, it's hard when people buy you gifts. Like, you want to accept it, but you also don't. You know what I mean? Okay, so I was going to show you I wanted to show you a recent finish. I told you that my stitching had slowed down during the pandemic. One of the things that I did manage to keep up with was the Fox and Rabbit Stitch Along last year. And I'm not doing it this year, but here is last year's 2021 Fox and Rabbit stitch along. So there's that. It had some hearts that were meant to sort of hang off of these columns. I say hang off because they seemed a little bit like pendulous, and I wasn't crazy about them for my own piece. I don't really like things kind of hanging. I don't like rides where you're suspended. I just don't like suspended things, I guess. So I just stitched it. I stitched the 3 columns just straight finished, nothing hanging. I've recently almost finished and have to fully finish this Frosty Forest. This one is going to be a birth sampler for my newest great niece. Her name is Zara, and I'm going to put her little name and her birthday and all that stuff right in the middle. When I stitched it, I thought she was going to be a boy. I know the pink and blue doesn't really pan out, but I did think she was going to be a boy. I just had a feeling, and I was wrong. So I kind of think it's a little blue and brown and green for a girl's room sampler, but she doesn't actually have a room right now because their house is going to get renovated. So I'm going to finish it soon, and when she gets her own bedroom, this will be on her wall. And then let's see. I'm not going to show you all of these whips that I'm working on because I am running out of time. I do like a stitch along, and I've really been enjoying Modern Folk Embroidery's releases. Everything that that Modern Folk releases, I just love. I've bought several of them in recent in the last couple of years, and I am doing his current stitch along, the 2022 stitch along. So here is, I'm not caught up to it at all, but here is where I'm at so far. So this is January, February, March. I have not started April. Or maybe I have. January, February, I can't remember. What's the date today? No, I haven't started April, and I haven't finished March. I think it's quite, again, I've got the pinky purple in there and the purpley pink grapes. This is about 6 colors. This is 5260 fabric. I started it slightly too much over this way. I don't know why I did that, so it's going to be a little tight on this side. It's only going to have about an inch on this side, but I do my own framing, so I think I can handle that. I haven't 100% decided whether that blue is staying. I think it gets a little lost, but I do really like the white. And I frogged these cherubs about 10 times, but I think I'm going to leave them. I'm not thinking of them as black, like just black angels or anything like that. I'm thinking of them as iron. Yeah, so there's that. I think it's going to be pretty. I just love Jacob's work, as I said. And then there were a couple of other things I wanted to talk about, but I just think I went on too long. So I'm going to sign off. I hope that some of the subscribers that I had before have stayed with me and will watch this video. If I don't like how this turned out, I don't know if I'll come back. I just didn't want to leave it hanging there. I just wanted to come back so that, you know, that sense of, you know, continuity. But I am sorry that I was gone for so long. And I hope all of you are well, and happy stitching to all of you, and maybe I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.